All right, welcome back to Restaurantopia. We've got another special episode today. Two-thirds of our hosting cast is here. Dave Ross, we got Mr. Brian Seitz. Brian, what's up?
Doing good, buddy. Thank you.
Thanks, man. And also we got a special guest here, Greg Moses of Unilever Food Solutions. Greg is a seasoned food service veteran. We won't make too much fun of him for his previous life in the distribution side, but well, maybe a little bit. I'm going to poke him a little bit. But no, he's been with Unilever for several years now and doing a great job representing them. And so, Greg's going to talk a little bit about the state of the operator and some data essentials information that came out recently. And just, what's going on out there in the industry. And we're just going to riff on that a little bit. And so excited to have you, Greg. Thanks for being on.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity to talk about this study.
Imagine a perfect world where you can build a restaurant, open the doors, and make loads of money. Unfortunately, those days are over. It takes great leadership, hard work, and long hours to operate a successful restaurant. Together, we can make it happen. This is Restaurantopia.
Greg, give us a little bit of your background, man.
Sure. My background is mostly in food service. I guess the last 36 years in sales and marketing roles at a number of food manufacturers and one distributor. Companies like Campbell Soup Company and Kraft General Foods, privately held company for quite a while, and as well as Dean Foods Company, which is a dairy supplier to the industry. I've had an opportunity to work with distributors and operators throughout those 36 years, traveling large portions of the country, leading some broker sales teams and things like that. In my current role, I'm a territory manager in northeastern Ohio, and calling on all the distributors and operators in this area.
Greg, I'm talking to operators on a daily basis. And one thing that's a constant theme that I hear is they feel like they're on an island. And I'm excited about this episode because you're bringing in data from Data Essentials, which I think is a great resource. Can you tell us a little bit about what you found, what you heard, and what were some of the takeaways from that?
Sure. It was actually a study done over the summer, so it's fairly recent. They wanted to talk to operators across many different segments of our industry, many different parts of the country. It was pretty thorough. I think they spoke with over 800 operators and wanted to find out how they were coming out of the pandemic. When we first went into the pandemic, a lot of people got shut down. A lot of unfortunate things happened. And unfortunately, operators closed their doors. But those who survived, what were the challenges they faced? And really, there were this triple threat of a theme that came out of this study. They talked about labor shortage. They talked about supply chain disruption and inflation that we haven't seen since the 1970s. So this triple threat really is hitting the operators hard. And Data Essentials wanted to find out how they were coming out of that and what they saw.
Great. Let's dive into it. So,
okay.
Number one, I think that everyone is feeling on a day-to-day basis is labor shortage. Even with the best culture and the best operation, you're going to have difficulty finding a sufficient number of staff people.
And they are. It seems, though, according to this survey, the back of the house is getting hit harder than the front of the house. And not only are they having a difficult time trying to find the labor that they need, they're finding it challenging to get trained back of the house staff. Not only are they having to pay them more in labor, more salary or more per hour wage, they also have to train them and find a way to train them. And that's something that seemed to be pretty much across the board on all the segments that they surveyed.
Yeah, Brian and I, and especially Anthony's got most of the experience, but we talk about that a lot, how people are just like, well, I don't have time for training. I don't have time to train people. I don't have time to train, and you're just like, okay, you have time to replace them though. Yeah. You seem to find time, what I mean? And now it's so much tougher to replace.
One of the outcomes of this survey was that operators are really looking for help. They're looking for help in a lot of different directions, but they still view their distributor salesperson as the number one resource they can go to. So it's really encouraging that they are reaching out for help, but I think there's a lot more resources out there for them that they may not even be aware of. A lot of manufacturers have healthy websites full of material to help train, to help offer recipes and do a lot of the back of the house things that they would like to get done. So I think that the time that they need to train their back of the house can really be reduced by them if they find these other resources that they could depend on.
I would agree. I think some of the tips that we've given in the past episodes are reduce the size of your menu and then start exploring different food service products that make the life of the kitchen staff easier. So, making stuff from scratch is a lot more difficult now if you don't have someone to do it. So are there products out there that are equally as good as a culinary experience, but take much, much less labor?
Yeah, in fact, this study covered that. They talked about. I'm gonna refer to my notes off and on here, but they talked about some of those things, and they're exactly what you're saying, Brian. They're finding products that can help them reduce the labor, good quality products that are consistent, that they could use repeatedly, and anybody in the back of the house can use these products and put together the same recipe time after time after time. That's exactly what this study took a look at. You mentioned that they're reducing some of their menu offerings. They're also trying to eliminate a day part or closing for a day. So there are ways that they're adjusting. One thing I've discovered over the last 36 years is restaurateurs are very resilient, and they'll find a way to make ends meet and make it work. And this study is kind of affirming that.
We've told many stories, and I think there's a sit-down pizza operator in our area that very great operator who closed 2 days a week at one of his locations and actually sustained the same amount of sales dollars being open 5 days instead of 7. And his staff was happier. Now that might be a little bit of a unicorn situation, but he figured it out to where he could do that. And so some of those decisions seem hard, and some things that you never would have thought you had to do years ago now become viable solutions.
The customer's trained up now. I'll give you an example. On Monday, we were going to get takeout, and we ended up having to make food at home. I mean, imagine that, the travesty. But I looked at all the places around us, and everybody was closed on Monday. I was like, wow, there's an opportunity to look at the customer base now, and where they would just be angry and write something horrible on your website, or like, oh, this place is going to go out of business because they're closed on Sunday, Monday. Like, now they just expect it, and they make their culinary choices to say, all right, I want XYZ, my favorite Italian place. I'm going to go on Wednesday because I know they're open on Wednesday. So I don't think,
Brian, it sounds like the Paris of the Midwest needs like a ghost kitchen.
Yeah, that's true.
Concept somewhere on Monday. Only open Mondays.
Yes. That's what we'll call it. We'll call it Mondays. Mondays.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
I think you're dead on. One of the questions they asked was, how are your sales versus pre-pandemic levels? And in many cases, I don't want to say all cases, but in a majority of cases, sales are back up to where they were pre-pandemic. However, profits are down. Profits are down quite a bit. They're down on average from 21% to 13%. So there is a concern there with profits, but sales are up. Traffic is up back where it was pre-pandemic. So everything's starting to click. But if margins are down, then we have to look at why that is. And I think what we're finding, and according to this study, we're finding that they're hesitant to take price increases. Although 77% of respondents said they took at least one price increase, they're still not where they need to be. Restaurant inflation or menu inflation is up about 5%. Their prices are up about 5%. Overall inflation is up about 8%. Food inflation is up over 13%. When you go to the grocery store. So restaurateurs are hesitant to take that. And I understand that. They're concerned about their customers, and they're concerned about getting the traffic. But if the traffic is back to normal and the sales are back to normal, there's just that third piece that they need to work on and see if they could fix.
The focus on your menu and pricing it accurately is the number one thing I think anyone should be doing in Q4 this year, is really focusing on that, getting resources from their distributor like Hillcrest. Chef Anthony will come in, do a menu analysis, see where you can raise price, compare it against other operators in the community, and take those dollars now, because this is a once in a lifetime opportunity to raise prices where the consumer has, I think, a little bit more elasticity. When they go to the grocery store, they're feeling it. So it's just as cheap to go out to eat, I think, sometimes it is to make something at home. So
Well, and for the first time in years, actually, grocery store inflation is higher than foods, the restaurant inflation. If you look at the national numbers. I mean, now I know micro, there's a lot of different scenarios going on, but it's not cheap to go to the grocery store.
No, it's definitely not cheap. And the operators have not kept up with the grocery stores and raising their prices. And then my second point would be is you need to focus on your prime cost. If you're not bottom lining as much money, but you're still doing the top line, where are you missing? Is it in your food cost? Is it in your portion size? Is it in your labor? You need to focus on those prime costs and make sure that you're still taking to the bank as much profit as your operation should produce every month. I mean, At the end of the day, you need to know that. You need to know that number, and you need to be very vigilant that you're not going to give it up because you cut back, but your labor is still high. It's like, well, if you're closed 2 days, your labor needs to be lower. So you need to really look at that. And when you make moves for savings, that those savings are actually captured and sustainable.
Absolutely. And I would add, you need to protect your brand. You've spent a lifetime building this brand, building this restaurant. You need to protect it for yourself, for your employees, for the overall health of your business. And you said it best, Brian. Consumers right now understand, and this is the time to make sure you're keeping pace, so that you can protect that brand.
Yeah, Greg, Brian and I always try to find like nuggets or little silver linings, or we call them pro tips in every episode. I think like you just smacked me across the forehead with protect your brand. I mean, that's a powerful phrase, because like, we talked in previous episodes about shadow inflation, and as things are going up in price and people are trying to find cheaper options and they're dumbing things down and they're doing stuff that really affects the end user, the customer's perception of their restaurant. Man, protect your brand.
Protect
that's
your
powerful.
brand. That is. I have a joke that I tell operators. It's Greg, how do you get 3 pizza restaurants?
I don't know. How do you get 3 pizza restaurants?
You have your dad give you 10. So like if you don't protect that brand, you're going to go out of business. And you see that all the time, where the brand is not cared for and cultivated over the years. And if you're not doing it now, the customer is discerning. They have the internet to put you on blast. So you need to make sure that the experience, the hospitality, the culinary experience, everything is there on every level, because it's a killing field right now. It's tough.
Sure. Yeah,
Greg,
this is important.
Yeah, this is also what are takeaways, man? I mean, this is good stuff. Like, give us some more stuff. Yeah.
Well, some of the other takeaways, and Brian, you mentioned these as well, are some of these. I'm going to read from this list because it's a fairly long list. Operators are looking for help right now. They need help. They may not come out and say that they need help, but maybe they should. If you're listening to this, please ask your distributor, ask some of your manufacturer reps, your broker reps, for a little bit of help, because it is out there. They're looking for help for online ordering. They're looking for help for menu analysis, as you mentioned, and costing, nutritional information, product comparison tools, recipe ideas and menu management, loyalty program assistance. These are all things that came out of this survey. Staff training, we discussed that briefly. How do you get your staff up to speed? Marketing assistance, industry trends and competitive analysis, menu design, store design. They're all looking for help right now. And I think those are key takeaways for us as suppliers to the industry. When we walk in and start speaking with an operator, how can we help them? Is it important for me to sell every operator something? Absolutely not. It's important for me to help an operator get to where they need to go. Maybe they'll bring me along for a little bit of the ride, but really it's not about me as a salesperson. It's about them and how to make them successful. That's why I went into sales more than 36 years ago. And these are the things that are right now critical in our industry, and folks are looking for help on those. And that's what the survey indicates anyway.
If I can speak to the operators out there that are listening, take Greg and Hillcrest up on this offer. We have all these resources. We're, in a lot of restaurants. If you have a pain point and you know what it is, and it's like, I need help with A, B, and C, ask us. We are here to help you. We want to see, you succeed, because your success is our success. If you're out of business, we have no one to sell to, and it's sad, because a lot of times this is someone's life's work, and we want to make sure that you are successful. So reach out to us, ask the questions, and if you don't know what the issue is, that may be the question too, is like, hey, can you come in and just do a business analysis, and where can I save money? Where can I increase profits? Where can I, have business improvements?
Absolutely. Yes.
And knowing the numbers, like Brian, you mentioned earlier about prime cost, but if you didn't know what your prime cost was pre-pandemic and you're trying to compare it to what it is now, like, let's figure it out. Like, listen, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. You know what I mean? But what's the second best time? Right now. So get started on this stuff. Don't let it continue to lag, because it is, the independent operator landscape is plagued with people that don't really know their numbers. And, they opened a restaurant and they took out their 401k and they did it. And maybe they had their, grandmother had a great lasagna recipe, so they opened a restaurant around it. And, there's all kinds of stories, and they're the greatest entrepreneurial stories ever. But at a lot of times, like, you got to get down, you got to know your numbers, you got to do these things. And, this stuff's important.
Yeah, it all goes back to protecting that brand, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Greg, this is great data. I love the protect your brand. I mean, that's good. That's going to be the.
That might be the episode.
Yeah, that is going to be because I don't think people are thinking that. Like, one thing that we say here at Hillcrest is, we serve the customer and serve the company, and that's our goal. And if that's when you're making a decision, if that's your mindset, that's very important. So I think this is a game changer. And I don't want to be like kumbaya and like rah stuff, but like, this is true. So if you have that mindset, it will change your operation.
Thank you. I agree. It's really, especially in this day and age, it's more important than ever.
So what else fired you up about the report? Anything else?
One of the things they also discovered is when sourcing products, there are a number of changes being made. Some folks are upgrading their products, some are downgrading a little bit. But what I found interesting was that 22% of respondents said they have increased their reliance on manufacturers' brands, which is good for companies like mine. And 14% have said they've increased their reliance on private labels. So they're looking for solutions, they're looking for consistency, and as we mentioned earlier, they're looking for products that will help them solve a lot of their labor issues. And there are a lot of them out there, high quality products, good quality ingredients, and it's as close as a call to your distributor rep or your broker rep that you know well, or your manufacturer rep that you might know well. So that was something that I thought was a pretty critical thing. I think people get set on a certain, especially if you're QSR, you're set on a certain product. You got to have this product. One thing the pandemic taught us was you may not get that product. So you have to be able to be flexible and adjust quickly. And they're looking for quality products that will serve them well into the future. And I don't want to say cost isn't an issue, because it clearly is an issue based on this survey, but they're learning to find the products that will help them get through the pandemic or the aftermath of this pandemic. And then I thought that was pretty important.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think that, the private label thing is interesting to me because, I've spent, most of my sales career, selling against private label. And, I think that because of some of the supply chain and the inability to get products, it created this openness of operators to try new things and do things that maybe they weren't going to do before. And
Exactly.
And so I agree with you. It's definitely like that rigid spec or rigid item or rigid, not even spec, rigid, just the name on the box.
Yeah.
Create some opportunities on both ends, really. So
Sure. And there are opportunities to moving to a national brand. If like I said, 22% of the respondents felt they would move to a national brand. You might be able to get a little bit of financial assistance to help move that gap a little closer to the private label, but you're getting the consistency and the quality of a national brand. You might be able to, put it on your menu. Who knows what adding a brand name to your menu would do to drive sales. It's something that you should seriously look at. So I think this is a good thing for the industry. I think we're learning a lot about, again, the resilience of the operator and how they're able to make things happen.
Well, you go back to episode 1, Brian. I mean, what's the restaurateur? The ultimate entrepreneur, right? I mean,
that's true.
No, I think that really says a lot. It is a comprehensive study. If anybody's interested in seeing the study, I'd be happy to come in and show it to them. It's not my study, but it really was a good survey of a really good cross-segment and across the country look at what's happening in the industry right now.
You're not on an island. Everyone is experiencing this. It's how you react to it. This is a very unique time in history, and you've got to make the moves. You got to adapt, because if you don't adapt, you're going to die. And we don't want to see local independent operators go out of business. So, take what Greg is saying, to heart, and you really got to look at these things that everyone is experiencing, and you're not going to weather the storm and it's going to change in 3 or 4 weeks. This is here to stay, and you need to make your moves now.
Yeah, if you're waiting for it to go back to normal, like this
is the new normal.
Yeah, that ship's passed. Like you're going to have to pivot, make some changes, and do the right thing. So that this data that Greg's presenting and is willing to share is awesome. And we appreciate the time you getting on here and talking about it. And I think this is just these conversations. Hopefully, will inspire somebody to to do better.
Yes, thank you. And we're here to help, folks. Please reach out to any one of us. We're here to help.
Thanks so much. It's not April of 2020. Like this is here to stay, and we really got to make the moves now to be successful. And that's what it's all about, to be a local independent operator. You're the ultimate entrepreneur, and we want you to be successful. So take a look at our show notes on restauranttopia.com. We'll have some great stuff from Greg and the Unilever team there. And thank you so much for listening. Thank you, Greg, for being on.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
This is a high quality pod. Thank you, everybody.
Take care. Adios.
Thank you for listening to Restauranttopia. The gratitude that we have for each and every one of you spending your precious time to listen to this podcast is immeasurable. Please make sure to tell a friend about this podcast. And also, if you have any feedback for us, visit us on restauranttopia.com and drop us a line. You can also subscribe on your favorite place to listen to podcasts. Thank you, and have a great day.
We are excited to announce the Restauranttopia VIP Text Club. Join by texting the word podcast to 844-928-4257. You will get access to exclusive content, industry news, deals, announcements, pro tips, and more. The VIP Text Club is an exclusive community of independent restaurant owners and professionals. Join today. Message and data rates may apply. Please check our website for our terms of service and privacy policy.
We also want to thank our sponsor, Hillcrest Food Service. If you are a local independent restaurant and are looking for a distributor who has chef and operational consulting, provides marketing support, does menu reviews, and most importantly, wants you to be successful, reach out to Hillcrest Food Service at hillcrestfoods.com.